Okay, so everybody's heard of the problems with the E90s and the N54 or N52 engines. If they throw the serpentine belt, they will get squeezed, they will get wrapped around the crankshaft pulley and squeezed inside the engine through the front crankshaft oil seal. VTT actually makes this aftermarket part that will protect against that happening. If the belt ever does get thrown and wrapped around the crank pulley, it will never be able to squeeze inside the engine because this will block that from happening. In this video, we're going to install this part. Now, there's another problem that you might not have heard of with the N54 in particular. And this only applies if you're going to really do an aftermarket tune and really add power to your engine. What actually happens is the crank bolt itself could actually loosen up. And if that happens, it'll throw your timing off. And it'll be really bad because this thing does not have a Woodruff key. It doesn't, the timing gear, the timing chain gear doesn't actually index to the crank pulley, to the crankshaft. They're just squeezed together by the front crank bolt. So if that bolt comes loose, the timing goes off, your valves could hit the pistons and the whole engine is toast. So VTT also makes this little part that will lock the front crank pulley into place where it cannot back out. It's a great insurance to add to your engine, very lightweight. So I bought these two together. We're going to install them both together in this video. So let's get started. So in order to install these things, the front crank pulley has to come off, which means we actually have to get out the engine fan and we got to get out the top scoop here to get that out. So a lot of things have to come out. We're going to go ahead and do that right now. These are T20s. You just pop that loose. We need to disconnect the electrical connector right there. We need to pop this off there and there. Set that aside. And then we need to get this T25 off right here. There is another T25 that we need to get right under here. It actually bolts the automatic transmission cooler to the bottom of the fan. Really stupid. You know, in order to do that, you actually need to take off your splash shields from underneath the car. I've already done that in preparation of this video. And obviously you need to jack up your car a little bit because you got to get under here. So that bolt is right there. So the only thing holding it in is this little rubber bushing thing right here. I just slipped my screwdriver in and sort of pried this back and off just like that. Now the fan can come out. So we have to get this inlet tube loose and move it back just so we have room to stick the T60 socket in right here. So to do that, it's a 6mm to get this hose clamp loose. And then this thing, you just turn it like that and it should come off. And then you have T30s, two T30 bolts here and here. So loosen those. They stay in because they're in like rubber things. Now you can just pull that back, push it back, give it some room, and now you got room to stick the socket in there. So put it in, we turn it down this way, and you want to have like a 16-penny nail ready. I happen to have this that came with the pulley. That's going to lock it open. Like that. And now it's locked open. So I'm going to need to take the belt off to do this one. It's just a little easier to get the crank pulley off if the belt is all the way off. I highly suggest you take pictures of the belt orientation. A lot of people get confused on this, and I think there's some incorrect orientations out on the internet too. So if you try to look it up afterwards, it's just confusing. So there are 6 E10 bolts holding the crank pulley to the crankshaft. And we just gotta get them loose. Wait, the crankshaft is turning. That's not good. I didn't anticipate that actually. Should have. Didn't think it was gonna be that strong. Okay, I should have left the belt on to have tension on the crankshaft so that I could break them loose. I'm gonna try to save some time here with the impact. So that's what they look like. Okay, and that just slides right off. All right, so that is the front of the crankshaft right there. That black ring around it, that is the crankshaft seal. And that is where the belt fragments kind of squeeze in. They push that seal in, actually, and they squeeze in there, and they get inside your oil pan, and they cause a whole bunch of problems. So we're just gonna put that little plate on, and it's gonna block that from ever happening. So that's gonna be great. I've seen guys where this accident happens, and they get all the belt fragments off, and they're like, am I good to go? And you can see that their front crankshaft seal is pushed in. You are not good to go. It needs to look like this. Okay, so if you're in that situation, make sure you get back to this. Anyway, we're gonna get the new protective plate on, and you can see those little bolts where it's gonna bolt. It's gonna replace these bolts here and here. So let's get it on. I'm actually gonna do a little bit of cleaning first, just a little. I'm gonna wipe off the area. I'm gonna come in with the pressure washer after I've got everything installed, because then I won't be able to get down on the ground because it'll be all wet. So first I'll just wipe the area clean that I need to, and then we'll do the real cleaning. So to get at the bolts, I actually need to get these power steering pump lines, or actually the automatic transmission cooler lines. I got to get these sort of down and out of the way. So I just want to loosen up this bolt here. And I think that'll be enough. Yeah, just get them down so I can just bend them out of the way a little bit. So this is difficult. These are E12 bolts right here that go up from underneath, and you need a swivel socket of some kind in order to get on these. There's just no two ways about it. So there. So that's loose, so I'll just get it out with the electric one after. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. Aha, it fell right there. Oh no. That bolt just sheared off inside. Ooh, that is not good. That is really not good. Why did that happen? Oh, I did not plan for that to happen at all. Oh, man, that sucks. Why the hell did that happen? All right, let's get this one out. Oh, you know what it is? It's that sealant, I think. It's the way that sealant goes in here. I think that's what it is. Man, why don't they warn you about that? Yeah, so I would say don't use the electric ratchet. Definitely do this by hand. You're trying to get through that sealant. I would go in and out a couple times. I think we might be out. Yeah, we are out. Ah, wonderful. It's because it's an aluminum bolt. This one's bent as well because of that. Oh, what a pain in the ass. That is actually not going to be easy to fix. It's really, really not going to be easy to fix. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix that. Well, I went and moved inside the garage. I worked on things for a couple hours out in the driveway and just was having no success. I got really pissed off, and I don't know, I moved the car in here because I needed to order a long drill bit to kind of get up there from underneath and be able to drill a hole in the center of that bolt so I can use an easy out to get it out. And I had success with that. Here's the long drill bit. They call it an aircraft drill bit. Just got that on Amazon. 1/8 inch drill bit. And then it's super nice to have a welder because I was able to create this sort of Frankenstein tool. I have a cheap easy out right here, and I welded that to like this Harbor Freight punch, and then just a Harbor Freight, hex thing. And yeah, I made a little easy out tool, and that's all it needed, and she came right out. Yeah, I am I'm super pissed that this thing didn't come with any instructions. I mean, obviously it kind of doesn't need any instructions. It's just two bolts, it's so super simple, but it really would have been nice to have a warning like, be careful, these bolts are gonna, kind of get caught up and could snap. I'm still not exactly sure what was going on. It could have been the sealant that's between the bed plate and the engine block that just kind of was causing this to hang itself up, or it could have been that my swivel socket wasn't quite at the right angle when this was coming out, and maybe my socket was putting some torque, sideways torque on these bolts, because this one bent as well. So it could have been that, and that just kind of got hung up somehow, and boom, this thing just snapped in pieces. So be really careful when you're doing this. I would say just if it starts to get hard to take it out, just go easy, go by hand. Don't use an impact like I used, because that was really dumb. But I always leave my mistakes in these videos because I want you to learn from them. So this is basically what not to do, and this is what I had to do in order to solve it. So anyway, let's see what we got to do to finally get this thing installed. Sadly, I did not get to clean the front of the engine like I originally intended, because I was just so mad. I just didn't bother. Anyway, I have this long, it's a 6mm hex, and on an extension, and that's going to allow me to get up from underneath and get at the bolts. I did test this a second ago. I'll get it like, straight on. So there and right there. So that's how I'm gonna do it. I should be able to actually torque these bolts to 25 foot-pounds as the instructions say. Let me just get this in. This one is binding up a little bit. Let's see if just a little bit of force will get it going. If I feel it really binding up in any way, I will stop, of course. But I think it's fine. Yeah, seems to be fine. Again, I believe it's the sealant that goes in between the bed plate and the engine block. It's a really interesting design on this engine. It's the bed plate has like the main bearings like all integrated into it, and then there's a channel around where the bed plate meets the perimeter of the bed plate where it meets the engine block, and they sort of they install the front crank seal, the rear crank seal, and then they pump a sealant into that channel, and it just sort of goes into the cavity, and I guess it's sort of like RTV, and it forms the gasket. And so I think that sealant basically sort of seeped into these holes in the front here, and that's kind of what's causing these bolts to bind a little bit. And yeah, combine that with aluminum bolts, and it's not good. You get what happened to me. Okay. I'm going to set this thing for 25. Okay. And there we are. All right, guys, I want to demonstrate this lock-off plate. It's going to go over the crank bolt. So as you see, it's going to fit over the front of the crank bolt like that. The thing is, the holes that are drilled in that plate, that where the bolt has to go, you saw that they were big. There was some space, so that thing can actually turn this way or that way. There is a chance, though, that it could be positioned such that you can't get the bolts in. And in that case, you're going to have to tighten the bolt just a little bit. I really hope that that's not my situation. So I'm going to investigate and see what's up. Well, guys, unfortunately, that is my situation with this thing. The bolt holes are just not accessible. It's just in the wrong position. And the thing is, in order to tighten that bolt a little bit, I would actually need to buy the crank holder tool. And it looks like you can really only slip it in pointing upward, which means that I'm going to need somebody to kind of counter hold it while I put my floor jack on a breaker bar, on a socket, on the bolt in order to tighten it just a little bit. And, that's kind of a lot to go through just for this thing. And I don't think I'm going to do it, to be honest with you. I don't think I really need it. This is really intended for people who are going to make monster power with these engines. Like, you know, somebody who's going to replace their turbos and go way past full bolt-on and go to like crazy 600 plus horsepower. Those are the guys who are having this crank bolt problem. So that's really what this is for. I don't intend to go anywhere near that. So I'm not going to do it. I really just wanted to demonstrate it in a video, demonstrate how to install it, but it's actually, you know, fairly straightforward. You're just going to put the crank pulley back in, the harmonic balancer. Well, let's do it this way. You would just kind of put it on the front of the harmonic balancer. Where are we? Like right there. That's what you would do, and then you would use the bolts that this came with instead of the ones that were instead of the OEM ones. That's it. So yeah, we're gonna skip it and just go back on. This is really what we came for. So I'm gonna put everything back together. All right, a trick for putting the harmonic balancer back on and getting it lined up correctly is to use one of these, a little pick tool, and we're gonna poke it through one of the holes and just kind of spy it from above here. And we'll use that as sort of the alignment tool when we're putting the crank pulley back on. And you can sort of run the thing around a little bit to sort of center it. And completely in the blind, just reach down. You got to have one of the bolts in your hand, which I do. Kind of reach down and see if you can get it started, which, yeah, I was just able to. So that's my trick for doing that. Works pretty good. All right, so I've got all of those threaded in. Man, I wish I could get you guys a better angle on some of these things. This is a little tight. I think they're all run down. Now I just gotta crank them tight a little bit. Okay, they're all good. All right, well, the rest of the job is pretty straightforward. It's just slipping this belt back on. The weird tensioner that is not ribbed when it should be. I don't understand that. It's the first time I've seen that. I thought that was pretty much a rule where, you know, you could figure out the belt alignment just by making sure that the side with the ribs was on the pulleys with the ribs. But not in this case. Yeah. Okay, so now I can just slip this right back on. Turn that lock, tighten up the clamp here. Okay, we just have the intake pipe bolts that kind of bolts to the engine. One and two that's stripped out. And for my favorite part, the thing I always struggle with, the stupid fan. It's because the ATF cooler lines are always in the way. Reach down and push them out of the way. And sometimes the ATF cooler is also in the way. Yeah. So if you just push those two things and give yourself room, then you're good. And it drops right into place. I guess I'm getting better at it. This guy clicks in, but this pipe goes over first. Then T25 for this bolt here. Now we just got to put this guy back in. And of course, the most annoying bolts on an E90. Guys, we're basically done. I just got to get those splash panels bolted back up. I'm not really going to show that. That's super basic. So yeah, that's it. Well guys, that's it for this video. Really easy job, actually. That part's not really that expensive and it gives you the ultimate peace of mind. Now, even if you throw a belt for whatever reason. I mean, we've taken care of all the reasons why belts would throw, but let's say one does throw in the future, I'm not going to have to worry at all. It's not going to get sucked into the engine. There's no danger from that anymore. So it's all good. And I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'm the 50s Kid. Thanks a lot for watching.